The small alien vessel appeared without warning on Earth's defense grid. Its unusual signature immediately triggered alerts across the United Earth Defense Force monitoring stations. The ship's design was unlike anything in humanity's records, sleek, with strange curves and materials that seemed to absorb rather than reflect sensor beams. Captain Frank Miller was halfway through his breakfast when the alert came through. He abandoned his coffee and hurried to the command center of Orbital Station Delta, his mind racing with possibilities. First contact, or the beginning of something worse. Status report, he ordered, stepping onto the bridge where his crew worked with focused intensity. Unknown vessel holding position, just beyond our outer defense perimeter, reported Lieutenant Grave Howard from the tactical station. No aggressive movements detected. They're just waiting. Are they broadcasting? Miller asked, studying the main view screen where the alien ship hung against the backdrop of stars. Communications specialist Lisa Wright adjusted her headset. Yes, sir, but it's nothing our systems can decode yet. The Universal Translation Matrix is working on it. Miller nodded. Keep all defensive systems in passive mode. I don't want to appear threatening, but maintain readiness. For 20 tense minutes, the bridge crew watched and waited as the translation system processed the alien transmissions. Finally, Wright straightened in her chair. Captain, I think we have something, she said, her voice hushed with the weight of the moment. Putting it through to main speakers. A strange voice filled the bridge, melodic and slightly mechanical, as if filtered through several layers of processing. Earth vessel. Request assistance. Fleet emergency. We are Corvidian Collective. Miller exchanged glances with his executive officer, Commander Heather Ross. Open a channel, he ordered. Wright nodded, and Miller spoke clearly. This is Captain Frank Miller of the United Earth Defense Force. We receive your message. Please explain the nature of your emergency. The response came faster this time, the translation becoming smoother. Our main fleet is stranded in the Horsehead Nebula. Catastrophic drive failure. Life support systems failing. Many will die without assistance. Miller frowned. The Horsehead Nebula was less than a week's journey at maximum speed. How many vessels are in your fleet? 217 ships, 83,000 individuals. We detected your civilization. You are closest potential help. The implications were enormous. Miller tapped his console to open a secure channel to Earth Central Command. General Patel, we have a situation that requires immediate attention, he said when the connection established. Within hours, an emergency meeting of the United Earth Council convened. Representatives from every continent debated the alien request via secure feed to Orbital Station Delta. It could be a trap, warned the African Union representative. We know nothing about these Corvidians. If it is genuine, refusing aid violates every humanitarian principle we stand for, countered the European delegate. Captain Miller was called to present his assessment. The alien vessel appears to be a scout ship. Scans show minimal weapons capabilities. Their technology is different from ours, but not overwhelmingly advanced. If this is a deception, it's elaborate. The debate continued for hours while Lisa Wright worked with her team to improve communications with the Corvidian ship. By evening, they had established reliable translation and learned more details about the crisis in the nebula. Their main propulsion systems were damaged by unusual radiation in the nebula, Wright reported. Their ships are bio-integrated, meaning the vessels are partially alive and connected to the Corvidians themselves. Without functioning systems, both ships and crews are dying. The Council finally reached a decision as dawn broke over North America. Earth would send help, but with precautions. Miller received his new orders with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Humanity's first major interaction with alien life would be a rescue mission. The implications would reshape human history forever. The Corvidian emissary received the news with what the translation system interpreted as profound relief. We will remember this, the alien voice promised. The hand of Earth extends across stars to help those unknown. This is rare in our experience. Miller nodded solemnly. We're assembling a rescue team now. Hold position and prepare to guide us to your fleet." Commander Eric Daniels watched as the rescue vessel Horizon detached from Earth's orbital dock. The ship represented humanity's best technology, a sleek, powerful craft equipped with advanced engineering systems and medical facilities. Designed for deep space exploration, it now served a more urgent purpose. "All systems nominal," reported pilot Susan Bennett, her hands moving confidently across the control interface. "Course to Horsehead Nebula plotted and ready." Daniels nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. 48 hours ago, he had been overseeing training exercises. Now he led Earth's first official contact mission with an alien species. "Proceed at maximum safe speed," he ordered. "We have lives to save." The Horizon accelerated smoothly, the stars blurring slightly on the view screen. The small Corvidian scout ship traveled alongside, occasionally transmitting updated coordinates and information. Science officer Olivia Garcia spent the journey studying the data provided by the aliens. On the third day, she requested an urgent meeting with the command staff. "I've made a discovery about the Corvidians," she explained, displaying complex biological readouts. "Their physiology is uniquely connected to their vessels. The ships aren't just transportation. They're extensions of the Corvidians themselves." "Like a symbiotic relationship?" asked Medical Officer Jeff Winters. Garcia nodded. "Exactly. When they described their ships as bio-integrated, they meant it literally. The ship systems provide necessary biological functions. When the ships fail, the Corvidians die," Daniels concluded grimly. "No wonder they're desperate." The journey continued for 5 more days. As they approached the nebula's edge, sensors began detecting unusual radiation patterns. "These readings are off the charts," Bennett reported. "The radiation signature doesn't match anything in our database." Garcia analyzed the data. "This must be what damaged their drive systems. Fascinating. It appears to interact specifically with the quantum resonance fields their technology uses." "Will it affect our systems?" Daniels asked. "Our shielding should protect us," replied Chief Engineer Maria Rodriguez. "Our technology operates on different principles. Humans also have greater radiation resistance than the Corvidians, according to their biological data." The nebula loomed ahead, a vast cloud of gas and dust illuminated by distant stars. Beautiful, but now they knew it was deadly to their new allies. "I'm detecting debris fields," Bennett warned. "Navigation will be challenging." The Corvidian scout transmitted a message. "We will guide you through safe passage. Follow closely." Bennett skillfully maneuvered the Horizon through the nebula's outer regions. Chunks of rock and ice drifted in their path, some as large as buildings. "How did an entire fleet get stranded in this?" muttered navigator Ryan Jackson. "According to their transmissions, they were mining rare elements found only in this nebula," Garcia explained. "They didn't anticipate how the radiation would affect their systems." After 3 tense hours of careful navigation, they emerged into a relatively clear area within the nebula. The sight before them left the crew speechless. Hundreds of alien ships floated in formation, their strange organic designs unlike anything humans had ever created. But many showed signs of damage. Dark sections where systems had failed, strange fracture patterns across their hulls. "Life signs are weak on multiple vessels," reported Communications Officer Brandon Lewis. "Several ships appear completely dead." Daniels squared his shoulders. "Open a channel to the Corvidian fleet. Tell them help has arrived." As the Horizon approached the massive alien armada, the rescue team prepared their equipment. Rodriguez led her engineering teams in final checks of the specialized repair tools they had designed during the journey. "We're about to make history," Daniels told his crew. "Let's show these people what humanity can do." The Horizon's lights illuminated the nearest Corvidian vessel, revealing its true scale and alien beauty. The mission to save an entire civilization had begun. The Horizon docked with the Corvidian command vessel, a massive ship that dwarfed the human rescue craft. Ambassador Alan Murphy led the first contact team, his diplomatic training now facing its ultimate test. Behind him walked Commander Daniels, and a small security detail, all trying to hide their amazement at the alien architecture. The interior of the Corvidian ship was unlike anything they had imagined. The walls seemed alive, pulsing with faint bioluminescence that had dimmed to a sickly flicker. The air felt heavy and carried strange scents that their environmental suits filtered but couldn't completely block. "The ship is dying," whispered Garcia, checking readings on her scanner. These walls are actual living tissue integrated with technology. They were led to a large chamber where several Corvidians waited. The aliens stood nearly 7 feet tall, with slender bodies covered in iridescent scales that shifted color with their movements. Their faces featured 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern above a small mouth-like opening. Fleet Admiral Kizivek stepped forward, a translator device attached to what appeared to be its chest. The device spoke in a flat, mechanical voice. "Humans of Earth, you honor us with your presence. Our situation grows dire." Murphy bowed slightly. "We've come to help in any way possible." Engineer Paul Wilson studied the visible technology in the room, noting the unusual integration of biological components with mechanical systems. "With your permission," he said, "I'd like to examine your drive systems to better understand the failure." The Admiral gestured to one of its officers, who led Wilson to an adjacent chamber. There, Wilson saw the heart of the Corvidian propulsion system, a massive crystal-like structure surrounded by what appeared to be organic circuitry. Parts of it had turned black, like dead tissue. After an hour of examination, Wilson returned to the main chamber where discussions continued. "I believe I understand the problem," he announced. "The radiation in this nebula has a unique frequency that disrupts the quantum field your drives generate. It's essentially causing a form of radiation sickness in your biomechanical systems." The Admiral's scales darkened. "Yes, we discovered this too late. Our fleet has been stranded for 97 of your days. Life support fails on more ships each cycle. Already we have lost 11 vessels with all their crew." Murphy exchanged concerned glances with Daniels. "How many people were aboard those ships?" "Nearly 5,000 souls," replied the Admiral. "We transfer crew from failing ships when possible, but soon we will have nowhere to move them." Daniels stepped forward. "Our ship can provide emergency power to your most critical vessels. We've brought supplies and technical equipment that might help stabilize your systems." As they spoke, Wilson noticed a group of Corvidians watching from the chamber's edge, their scales flickering with colors that didn't match the others. He pointed them out discreetly to the security officer. "Not all welcome your help," the Admiral explained, following their gaze. "Sub-Admiral Trillax and his faction believe accepting aid from unknown species brings danger. They fear conquest disguised as rescue." Murphy nodded understanding. "A reasonable concern. We come only to help, but we understand your caution. Perhaps we can prove our intentions through actions rather than words." The meeting continued as humans and Corvidians shared information about their respective technologies and needs. The scale of the crisis became increasingly clear. Without functioning drives, the entire fleet would eventually die in this nebula trap. As they returned to the horizon to coordinate the rescue effort, Daniels felt the weight of 80,000 alien lives on his shoulders. "We need to contact Earth," he told Murphy. "Request additional ships and supplies. This is bigger than anything we prepared for." Murphy nodded grimly. "And we need to be careful. Those suspicious Corvidians could become dangerous if they believe we're a threat." Outside the viewport, the vast alien fleet drifted silently in the colorful nebula gases, beautiful and doomed without the help that only humans could provide. Chief Engineer Maria Rodriguez hadn't slept in 36 hours. She sat surrounded by holographic displays showing Corvidian ship schematics, her eyes red-rimmed but focused. 3 empty coffee containers littered her workstation. "I think I've got something," she said as Commander Daniels entered the engineering bay. She manipulated the display to show a modified shield design. Their shields failed because they couldn't handle the specific radiation frequency in this nebula. "But if we reconfigure our shield generators to produce a hybrid barrier." Daniels studied the complex equations. "Will it work?" In theory. The tricky part is integrating it with their biomechanical systems. Their technology literally grows into new configurations. Ours doesn't. What do you need? Rodriguez sighed. Time in their engine rooms. And I need our people working directly with their systems. That's the problem, Daniels replied. The radiation levels in those sections are too high for the Corvidians to safely enter. But not for us, Rodriguez pointed out. Human physiology can tolerate radiation exposure that would kill them instantly. We have the right protection suits. This became their unexpected advantage. Human engineering teams, protected by specialized suits, began working in areas of the Corvidian ships that the aliens themselves couldn't access. The Corvidians watched with what seemed like awe as humans entered the deadly radiation zones, making repairs and modifications that were saving alien lives. Medical Officer Daniel Brown established a treatment center on the horizon, where injured Corvidians were brought for care. He worked tirelessly to understand their alien physiology. Their cellular structure is fascinating, he explained to Garcia during a rare break. They have a form of distributed nervous system throughout their bodies. That's how they interface directly with their ships. Can you treat their radiation damage? She asked. Brown nodded. We've adapted some of our anti-radiation protocols. Their bodies respond well to the modified treatments. They heal remarkably fast when given the right support. Earth responded to Daniel's request by sending 3 additional rescue ships loaded with supplies and equipment. The arrival of more humans enhanced both the rescue effort and humanity's standing with the grateful Corvidians. Not everyone welcomed this development. Sub-Admiral Trillax and his faction grew increasingly vocal about their suspicions. Why would unknown beings cross space to help us? Trillax demanded during a fleet council meeting. No species acts without self-interest. They study our technology while we grow dependent on their aid. Fleet Admiral Kezvek's scales flashed with annoyance. They risked their lives in our most dangerous sections. 17 humans suffer radiation exposure treating our wounded. What conquest strategy is this? The clever one, hissed Trillax. They make us trust before they strike. Ambassador Murphy worked diplomatic channels to ease these tensions, but the suspicious faction remained unconvinced. Security Officer Jack Collins implemented discreet protective measures for the human teams, concerned about potential hostile actions. Meanwhile, Rodriguez's shield modification theory proved successful in small-scale tests. The first Corvidian auxiliary vessel regained partial power using the human-designed hybrid shields. It's working, Rodriguez reported excitedly. The biocircuits are regenerating once protected from the radiation. Daniels watched the progress from the Horizon's command center. How long until we can implement this across their fleet? Weeks, maybe months, she admitted. Each ship requires custom modifications. Their largest vessels will be the most challenging. Communications expert Nicole Martinez made another breakthrough by developing a translation matrix for the Corvidians' technical language, which differed significantly from their standard communication. This allowed human engineers to better understand the complex biological components of alien technology. It's like their ships speak a different dialect, Martinez explained. Once we cracked that, our efficiency improved dramatically. As the rescue operation expanded, humans demonstrated an adaptability and determination that impressed even the most skeptical Corvidians. Working in the dangerous radiation zones that the aliens couldn't enter, the human teams became essential to the fleet's survival. Your species is unlike any we have encountered, Admiral Kezvek told Murphy. You risk yourselves for strangers. This is rare in our experience of the galaxy. Murphy smiled. It's what humans do at our best. We help where we can. The warning alarms blared across both human and Corvidian vessels simultaneously. Science Officer Garcia's voice cut through the chaos on the Horizon's bridge. Massive radiation surge approaching. The nebula is destabilizing. Commander Daniels rushed to the command center, where sensor displays showed an ominous wave of energy moving through the gas cloud toward the fleet. How long do we have? He demanded. 17 minutes until it hits, Bennett replied from the pilot's station. "It's moving faster than anything we've seen in this nebula." Daniels opened fleet-wide communications. "All human personnel, return to your ships immediately. Corvidian vessels, activate whatever shielding you have functional." Admiral Kazvek's voice responded. "Many of our ships cannot move and have minimal shields. This surge will destroy at least 30% of our fleet." Daniels stared at the tactical display, mind racing through options. The Corvidian fleet was spread across too large an area to evacuate the threatened ships. Even with 4 Earth vessels, they couldn't transport that many aliens to safety in time. "Rodriguez," he called to his chief engineer, "is there any way we can extend our shields to protect some of their ships?" "Not at that distance," she answered, her voice tense with frustration. "But if we physically connect to their vessels, we could create a power link. Our generators could feed their shield systems directly." "That's insane," protested Executive Officer Luke Peterson. "We'd have to physically dock with their ships in minutes, and we've never attempted power integration on that scale." "It's their only chance," Daniels decided. "All Earth vessels, prepare for emergency docking procedures with Corvidian ships. Priority to vessels with highest life sign concentrations but weakest shields." What followed was the most dangerous docking maneuver in human spaceflight history. Bennett piloted the Horizon alongside the largest Corvidian vessel, manually aligning their airlocks while both ships drifted in space. "Docking clamps engage," she announced as metal groaned against the stress. Rodriguez led her engineering team through the connected airlocks, carrying portable power relays. "We need to link directly to their main shield generator." Inside the alien vessel, Corvidians led the humans through pulsing organic corridors to their shield control center. Rodriguez began the delicate process of connecting Earth technology to the alien biomechanical systems. "The power frequencies don't match," she muttered. "We'll need to modulate our output, or we'll fry their systems." Across the fleet, similar scenes played out as the other Earth ships docked with Corvidian vessels. It was a desperate gambit, executed with seconds to spare. In the shadows of the Corvidian ship's lower decks, Security Officer Jack Collins noticed movement where there shouldn't be any. Drawing his sidearm, he followed the motion until he spotted 3 Corvidians tampering with a junction where power cables ran from the Horizon into their ship. "Stop," he shouted, recognizing the distinctive scale coloration of Trelax's faction. The Corvidians turned, one raising a cutting tool. "Humans will not control our ships," hissed the leader. Collins tackled the alien before it could sever the power connection, struggling against its superior strength. "This isn't about control. We're trying to save your people." The radiation surge hit before the saboteurs could respond. The entire ship shuddered as energy washed over it. On the bridge, Rodriguez watched in horror as power readings spiked dangerously. "Divert all non-essential power to shields." Daniels ordered over the communication link. The Horizon's lights dimmed as energy flowed into the connection with the Corvidian vessel. For long minutes, both ships vibrated with the strain as the radiation battered their combined shields. In the corridor, Collins maintained his grip on the would-be saboteur, even as the deck plates heated beneath them. "If that connection fails, everyone dies," he growled. The radiation peaked, then gradually began to subside. Throughout the fleet, exhausted crews watched as the deadly wave passed. The desperate plan had worked. Every ship connected to an Earth vessel had survived with minimal damage. Admiral Kizovek personally came to meet Daniels after the crisis. "Your crew risked everything for us. Even the faction that distrusted you cannot deny this truth now." Daniels nodded wearily. "We still have a lot of work ahead. But together, I think we'll get your people home." Engineer Maria Rodriguez stared at the holographic model floating before her, rubbing her tired eyes. Next to her stood Zerlik, the lead Corvidian engineer, its scales shimmering with excited blues and greens. For 3 weeks they had worked on this hybrid drive system, combining human ingenuity with Corvidian biotechnology. "The quantum field stabilizer should work now," Rodriguez said, pointing to a modified component. Your crystals provide the resonance, but our shielding prevents the nebula radiation from disrupting the field. Zerlik's translator device processed its clicking speech. We would never have considered this approach. Your technology is primitive compared to ours, yet you solved what we could not. Rodriguez smiled. Sometimes a fresh perspective helps. Different doesn't mean worse. Today would be the real test. They had installed the hybrid drive system in a mid-sized Corvidian vessel. If successful, they could begin modifying the entire fleet using this template. Commander Daniels and Admiral Kezbek observed from the Horizons Bridge as the test ship powered up. Even the skeptical Sub-Admiral Trillax was present, though he maintained a guarded distance from the humans. "Drive initialization sequence beginning," reported Rodriguez through the comlink. "Power flow is stable." On the main view screen, they watched as the Corvidian ship's hull began to glow with soft bioluminescence, sections lighting up in sequence as systems came online. For the first time in months, the vessel looked truly alive. "Quantum field forming," announced Zerlik. "Field integrity at 60%, 70%, 85%, and holding steady." A cheer erupted on the Horizons Bridge. Admiral Kezbek's scales rippled with emotion as the ship began to move under its own power, maneuvering gracefully through the nebula gases. "You have done what we thought impossible," the Admiral told Daniels. "With this solution, we can save our fleet." Even Trillax seemed affected, his usual suspicious posture relaxing slightly as he watched his people's ship moving freely again. While the engineering teams celebrated this breakthrough, scientist Kevin Lewis made another important discovery in his research lab. He had been studying samples of the nebula's unique radiation particles. "Commander," he called excitedly over the comm system, "you need to see this immediately." When Daniels arrived at the lab, Lewis showed him a complex molecular analysis. "This radiation isn't just dangerous. It's incredibly valuable. These particles can be harnessed for energy production on a scale we've never imagined. 1 cubic meter contains enough potential energy to power all of Earth for a year." Daniels whistled softly. "No wonder the Corvidians were mining here." "Exactly. But they were using the wrong approach. With our radiation-resistant technology and their harvesting techniques, we could safely extract these particles." This discovery transformed the rescue mission into something more. A potential partnership that could benefit both species. When presented with Lewis's findings, the Corvidian leadership recognized the opportunity. "We have ancient star charts mapping similar radiation phenomena across this galactic sector," offered Admiral Kezbek. "This knowledge would be our gift to humanity, in thanks for your aid." As the first successfully modified ship returned to the fleet, the mood shifted from desperate survival to cautious hope. Rodriguez and Zerlik worked with other engineers to streamline the modification process, teaching human and Corvidian technicians to work together. Within days, 5 more ships had functioning drives. These vessels began helping to repair others, creating a cascade effect that accelerated the rescue operation. Teams worked around the clock, humans and Corvidians side by side. "At this rate, we might have the entire fleet mobile within 2 months, reported Rodriguez during a status meeting. Daniels nodded with satisfaction. "And Earth has approved our request to establish a permanent research outpost here. We'll be working with the Corvidians to safely harvest the radiation particles." Ambassador Murphy, who had been negotiating with both Earth leadership and the Corvidian Council, shared more good news. "The Corvidians have agreed to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth. This is just the beginning of what could be a tremendously beneficial alliance." As they spoke, more sections of the alien fleet were lighting up as systems came back online. What had begun as a desperate rescue mission was transforming into humanity's first true partnership among the stars. The last Corvidian vessel powered up its newly modified drive system, its hull glowing with healthy blue light. After 3 months of intensive work, the entire alien fleet was operational again. Commander Eric Daniels watched from the Horizons observation deck as the massive ships formed into a travel formation. ready to leave the nebula that had nearly become their grave. "Hard to believe we did it," said Rodriguez, joining him at the viewport. Her face showed the fatigue of endless work shifts, but her eyes shone with pride. "Not just us," Daniels replied. "This was humanity's first true interspecies cooperation. Everyone played a part." The rescue operation had evolved far beyond its original mission. What began as emergency aid had become a complex diplomatic, scientific, and engineering partnership. 3 additional Earth vessels had joined the original 4, bringing specialized equipment and personnel. A small permanent research station now orbited near the nebula's edge, staffed by scientists from both species studying the valuable radiation particles. On the Corvidian command ship, Admiral Kizvek presided over a formal ceremony marking the fleet's imminent departure. Representatives from Earth stood alongside Corvidian leaders on the massive bridge. "Today marks the beginning of a new era for the Corvidian Collective," announced the Admiral, its scales displaying ceremonial patterns of blue and gold. "Humans of Earth extended their hands when we faced extinction. We will remember this as long as our species exists." Ambassador Murphy stepped forward to sign the official alliance document. The agreement established trade routes, scientific cooperation, and mutual defense protocols between Earth and the Corvidian homeworlds. "Humanity is honored to call the Corvidian Collective our friends and allies," Murphy said. "Together, we will build a safer galaxy for both our peoples." Even Sub-Admiral Trillax had come to accept the alliance, though somewhat reluctantly. After witnessing humans repeatedly risk their lives to save Corvidian ships during dangerous repair operations, he could no longer maintain that their intentions were hostile. "Your methods are strange," he told Security Officer Collins during the reception that followed. "But your actions speak truth. I was wrong to distrust." The ceremony concluded with an exchange of gifts. The Corvidians presented Earth with a complete set of ancient star charts, mapping thousands of systems across 3 galactic sectors. Some of these stars had planets with conditions potentially suitable for human life. In return, humanity offered technical specifications for radiation-resistant materials and shield designs that would allow Corvidian ships to safely navigate hazardous regions of space previously closed to them. "These gifts will change the future for both our peoples," observed Science Officer Garcia, examining the star charts with wonder. As the celebration continued, Daniels received word that several Corvidian scientists and diplomats had requested permission to return to Earth with the human ships. Similarly, a number of human specialists had volunteered to travel to Corvidian worlds to continue collaborative research. "It seems we've started something bigger than a rescue mission," Daniels told Murphy. "That's how alliances begin," the ambassador replied, "with individuals brave enough to step into each other's worlds." The following day, the Corvidian fleet prepared for departure. Their massive ships would return to their home systems with stories of human heroism and the beginnings of a technological revolution spawned by the hybrid systems developed during the crisis. The Horizon and other Earth vessels would escort them to the nebula's edge before setting course for home. As final preparations were made, Admiral Kizvek sent a message that was broadcast to all human ships. "Before this encounter, we believed we were alone in our understanding of compassion. You have shown us that kindness can wear many forms. The galaxy will know that humans are not to be feared, but to be valued as friends who come when called, even across the void of stars." As the massive fleet began to move in unison, departing the nebula that had nearly been their tomb, the human crews felt the weight of this new responsibility. Their actions had established humanity's reputation among the stars. "So what happens next?" Rodriguez asked as they watched the spectacular formation of ships. Daniels smiled. "We go home, heroes. And then we go back out there. The galaxy just got a lot bigger, and we have new friends to get to know."